The touch of death is a common trope in fictional storytelling and writing. The basic idea is that it is a technique that allows the user to instantly neutralize a target by simply hitting them in a specific area or with a specific strike. Basically, one touch and they're gone. Originating from Chinese martial arts, the idea has spread to movies, fighting game terminology, and of course, has even found its way into anime as a specific kind of ability. One shot, one kill. One-shot abilities are those capable of ending a character's life through a single use or activation. Typically, they have some inherent durability negation that makes it so regardless of how durable a character is, they will still be killed. One-shot abilities are usually built in with specific activation requirements, setups, or limitations so that the character in possession of them doesn't instantly become unstoppable. After all, if a character could just go around instantly killing anyone they wanted, that would remove all stakes and tension from the series. Though realistically, most of the time, if you plugged a controller into these characters' brains, you could probably solo the verse. The most common requirement tends to be simply touching their target, afterwards being able to activate their ability and instantly kill them. So it's like the cheese touch from middle school, except your opponent's brain explodes if you land the hit. Thus, most one-shot abilities suffer from the same weakness of being outranged, though some do find workarounds to avoid this. One-shot abilities are most commonly found in antagonists, due to their inherent capabilities for, mass murder. However, it's not too uncommon to find them in protagonists as well, specifically those who serve as the assassin archetype. Due to how inherently powerful they are, one-shot abilities have to be handled with a certain degree of care. Overuse them and you either have a protagonist who can solve all your problems, or an antagonist who just completely wipes out the main cast. But underuse them and your audience will begin to catch on to how underutilized either side's most powerful asset is. In this video, I'm going to be going over my favorite one-shot abilities from anime, going over how they function, their pros and their cons, as well as how they were used in the context of their story. If I didn't mention one of your favorite abilities, feel free to talk about it in the comment section down below. And if you enjoy the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Anyway, let's get on with it. Within the world of quirks and heroes from My Hero Academia, there are actually two main options for one-shot abilities, both belonging to villains because this is a superhero world and killing the mass murderers is bad, most of the time anyway. There's Decay, which allows Shigaraki to break down anything he touches into dust, and Overhaul, which allows for very similar possibilities with the added bonus that the user can reconstruct matter into pretty much anything they want. Since Shigaraki is the main villain of the story, while I do like both abilities, I'll be mostly focusing on Decay. As previously stated, Decay is an ability of absolute destruction. Anything the user touches will crumble into dust without exception. Early on in the series, Shigaraki had several restrictions to balance the power. He needed to touch the target with all 5 fingers, it only worked through his hands, and the decay was slow and required constant applications. It was a decent quirk, but nothing to write home about. As the series progressed, so did the ability. Through multiple awakenings, Shigaraki lost most of his restrictions, though his biggest boost in power came through the addition of a domino effect. If one decaying object was touching another, the decay would spread. In addition to an increase in the rate of decay, this allowed Shigaraki to essentially wipe out entire cities in an instant. If you were touching the ground when this occurred, you were basically screwed, and if even one of the fragments of a decaying object touches you, whether you're airborne or not, the decay will spread onto your body, killing you. Decay is especially troublesome due to the fact that it ignores all forms of durability. Even Crush the Shield Hero had absolutely no way to protect against it. Genuinely, if Aizawa, who has the ability to temporarily erase people's quirks, wasn't born in the same generation as Shigaraki, Shigaraki would have genuinely been unstoppable, especially in combination with all the other quirks and abilities he got. Decay perfectly and simply encapsulates the purpose of Shigaraki's entire character. Someone so hellbent on destruction that they will stop at nothing until everything around them is erased. There's some great juxtaposition between Overhaul and Shigaraki, reflected through their abilities. The former wishes to rip society down before building it back up again, while the latter only wishes for pure destruction. And so the conflict for the villain side of the Overhaul arc is to see whose ideals comes out on top. I don't really have many complaints about Decay. I think it's a simple yet well executed power, though I do wish we could have seen what it was capable of when Shigaraki started growing hundreds of fingers and hands from his body. Now we move on to Jujutsu Kaisen, the world of sorcerers and curses, specifically with special grade curse spirit Mahito and his technique Idle Transfiguration. Idle Transfiguration allows the user to reshape and manipulate the soul of anyone they physically touch, including themselves. This ability grants many useful applications, such as allowing the user to manipulate their own soul into a form better fit for combat, or even undoing physical damage if not struck with an ability that directly interacts with the soul. Though of course, for the sake of this video, we'll be focusing on the technique's one-shot capabilities. Since Mahito is capable of reshaping the soul on contact, he's got a lot of options when it comes to killing his target. Making them into a sword maybe, making the upper body explode, or causing their eyes to pop out from their face. He's got a lot to work with. And to tell you a secret, this technique isn't a true one-shot in some cases, as some people are capable of resisting its effects through reinforcing their soul. But for all intents and purposes, it still gets the one-shot reward in the majority of the cast. This weakness is also removed through the use of domain expansion, which creates a separate space where Mahito's curse technique is instantly applied. This removes the whole "I have to touch you" thing and makes it so he can instantly eliminate anyone caught inside of the space. Unless you're only in there for like 0.2 seconds, your head is probably going to explode. What makes Mahito's technique truly interesting is what it represents. Curses in Jujutsu Kaisen are based off human fears and negative emotions. Jogo is based off volcanic natural disasters, and Kurorushi is formed from the fear of cockroaches, and so on. Mahito is based off of the hatred humans have towards each other, and when you apply this theme to his curse technique, you begin to understand what it's meant to represent. Think of what happens when a human hates another. They begin to break that person down into their flaws, and they hyperfixate only on what's wrong with them. They exaggerate their negative aspects until all that's left in their mind is a twisted, hateful distortion of who that person truly is. This warping of the human form, when taken literally, is essentially how Mahito's curse technique works, transforming people based on his own views, and his technique becomes pretty fascinating once you make that connection. Killer Queen is the stand of Yoshikage Kira, a 33-year-old man who lives in the northeast section of Morio, where all the villas are. He's not married, and he works anyway. Killer Queen has 3 primary abilities or bombs, but the first and last are what can be considered as one-shot abilities. Killer Queen's first ability is Bomb Transmutation, allowing the user to change any object, inanimate or not, into a bomb simply by touching it. Once the user has touched an object, they or their stand can detonate the bomb by pressing their thumb down to mimic a detonator. This can be equally applied to organic and inorganic matter, so if a human being is charged as a bomb, once detonated, they of course instantly die. There's a surprising amount of versatility capable from this one ability, as Kira can charge other objects as bombs used as projectiles, or even have bombs instantly go off once someone comes into contact with them. But in terms of sheer lethality, turning people directly into bombs is undoubtedly the most potent. As is the case with all stands in JoJo, Kira's ability is a reflection of his inner psyche, specifically his desire to keep details about his murderous life a secret. And for a killer, the ability to instantly atomize a body down to the atomic level without so much as leaving a trace of their clothes or personal belongings might be the perfect power. And you might think that explosions are kind of counterintuitive, due to their loudness and brightness, though you have to remember that non-stand users are completely incapable of perceiving them. Even to stand users, the sound from the explosions is essentially silent. To step things up a bit, Killer Queen's third bomb is an even more refined evolution of this. Kira is capable of setting a target, which has to be a non-stun user, and if that target ever reveals his identity to anyone, those who receive the information will instantly explode, as time is then rewound an hour. Even in this new timeline, those who receive the information will explode at the exact same time they were meant to, eliminating anyone who could be a threat to Kira's identity. A truly terrifying power for a truly psychotic killer. One-shot abilities are inherently overpowered due to their ability to instantly kill other characters with something as simple as a touch. It takes a lot to properly balance them within the scope of a story, and while some authors take this simple approach and somehow make their main character immune to them, others use more creative methods to counter the abilities. Still, it remains as one of my favorite power archetypes due to its raw coolness and lethality. Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to slam down on that like button and subscribe while you're at it. Anyway, I'll see you in the next video. Peace.